If you're thinking about moving to the Oregon coast, this will be a great video to get you up to speed if you're not familiar. If you are familiar, maybe live along the Oregon coast, feel free to weigh in the comments. Give us your take. I'm going to give you my interpretation. All that starts now. Hey everyone, welcome back to Living on the Oregon Coast. First thing you want to do in 2024, first thing you really want to know and pay attention to along the Oregon coast is weather events.
Along the Oregon coast has closed Highway 101 heading into Seaside.
We have a lot of flooding, landslides, even had some snow that's impeded travel. So anytime you go somewhere along the Oregon coast, if you're going to go anywhere more than an hour or so, definitely do a trip check right before you leave. We've had a lot more extreme weather over the last couple of years. We do have the Oregon coastal range as well. If you're traveling from the valley over to the coast, vice versa, from the airport PDX over to like Seaside or Cannon Beach, also want to check the range in the wintertime. You will go over 1,000 to 1,500 feet of elevation. In some places you can encounter snow, enough snow to cause a problem. Sometimes you'll see cars stuck on the side of the road. The Oregon coast can kind of be broken up into three different sections. The northern Oregon coast, which is kind of Astoria, Warrenton to about Lincoln City, maybe Newport, depending on how you cut it. Southern Oregon coast is largely going to be considered Coos Bay to Brookings. Central Oregon coast is going to be everything in between. Northern Oregon coast, think tourism, amenities, great restaurants. The tourism, the economy allows those great restaurants to be supported. Or Southern Oregon coast, think slow, retirement, quiet, rugged. Brookings is one of the top retirement towns along the Oregon coast, anywhere along the Oregon coast. And then Central Oregon coast, kind of a combination of both things. Not quite as touristy, not quite as rugged and quiet. The largest towns have about 10,000 people, which are some of the towns that you see here on the map: Lincoln City, Newport, Florence. Coos Bay, North Bend area, those two towns have about 10 to 12,000 people, so combined about 25,000 people. And I just want to take you north to south and real quickly give you a rough overview of each town. And one thing to know about these towns, all the larger towns like Astoria, Seaside, Tillamook, Lincoln City, all these larger towns do have a hospital. Typically not going to be anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes away from a hospital. I know it's important for all of you retirees. Also, the shopping, maybe compared to what you're used to, is going to be probably comparatively sparse, I would say, along the Oregon coast. You can have a lot of Fred Meyer, but beyond that, there is one Costco. It is right here in Warrenton. There's also a Fred Meyer and a Walmart. This little section right here has pretty much anything and everything that you could possibly want. The rest of the Oregon coast isn't going to have nearly as much, so the best shopping definitely is going to be in Astoria, Warrenton. Now, these two areas are hyphenated, although they are very unique. Astoria has a really great, really vibrant, historic downtown. A lot of great restaurants there. If I was going to compare one town to Portland, in a good way, of course, that would be Astoria. It's got a little bit of a hipster vibe to it. Can't really say that about most or really any other towns along the Oregon coast. Although they are hyphenated and oftentimes mentioned together, they are a lot different. Warrenton has a little tiny downtown. There's not much there. Handful of places to eat. It's kind of a one stoplight type of town. The community itself is largely a bedroom community, so people that are living there maybe aren't necessarily working there. They're working somewhere else. Probably going to restaurants in Astoria or Seaside. So Warrenton's going to have a little bit more of a rural feel to it. And as you can see on the map, if you want to be close to the beach, if you actually want access to the sand, it's going to be about 15 minutes from Astoria. Warrenton, this stretch right here, you got about 10 miles of unobstructed beach. You can also drive along the beach right there, which is really unique. Heading south from Warrenton, you run into Gearhart, also very small, kind of one stoplight type of town. There is a golf course that attracts a lot of people, and a McMinimans, which is really popular. And if you're traveling south along the 101, you might not notice the difference or where one ends and one begins between Gearhart and Seaside. But Seaside, you will notice if it's the peak season, you're going to hit traffic right about there as you enter into town to Seaside. If you're coming from Portland, you're going to hit traffic right about here. In peak season, it's pretty much bumper to bumper, although it takes maybe just 8 to 10 minutes to actually get through the town. On the other side of this river here, the Nicanacum River, that's kind of where everything is going on. This Broadway right here is where all of the tourists go and the kind of shops and stuff like that. There is a promenade that spans a couple miles that is very popular for people to walk along. Seaside is a resort town, one of the closest towns to Portland, and so for that reason, it is very popular and very sort of touristy. And then just south of that, you also have one of the other most popular towns along the Oregon coast, which is Cannon Beach, most largely known for its haystack rock. Cannon Beach is quite a bit smaller than Seaside, and being just as popular makes it also very, very congested. Can be tough to find parking around here in the peak season. It's got a very quaint feel to it, a lot of great restaurants, a lot of art shops, art galleries, so it's got a kind of a artsy feel to it. Real estate is about as expensive there as anywhere else along the Oregon coast. Little towns just to the south of it, like Arch Cape's, just a small kind of little bedroom community. It kind of feels like an extension of Cannon Beach. Next kind of big major town you're going to run into is Manzanita, which is very also similar to Cannon Beach, except that it's maybe not quite as congested, not quite as busy. And that's because it's maybe 20 or 30 minutes south of Cannon Beach. And a lot of people coming to the Oregon coast are taking this highway right here, Sunset Highway, Highway 26, and they're usually going to go to the north and go to Seaside, go to the south, and go to Cannon Beach for those day trippers. For that reason, you just don't quite get as much congestion from people in Portland maybe down this way. So a little bit quieter in Manzanita, a little bit smaller. Next big town, Rockaway Beach. And I should mention this too. Any of these smaller towns like a Wheeler, for example, Nehalem, some of these towns might have 200, 300, 400, 500 people. They can be a little bit kind of dilapidated, a little bit run down. The Oregon coast is not as developed as, of course, the East Coast or the California coast. A lot of these towns have been here forever. Formerly things like logging towns that might just not have quite the tourism to give them the kind of micro economy that will make it very vibrant. Rockaway Beach, though, is one of the more popular places for short-term rentals. If you're somebody that's thinking about buying a short-term vacation rental, where those things are allowed along the Oregon coast is really going to vary depending on HOA, town, and county. Rockaway Beach is largely known as one of the most friendly places for short-term vacation rentals. Also known for their about 7-mile long unobstructed beach. Moving down to the south, few smaller towns. These towns are all going to be under 1,000 people. Tillamook, the next major big town, got everything you want in Tillamook. Tillamook is a farming community. It definitely has a farming feel to it and a farming smell to it. If you want to find some land here, especially inexpensive, something a little bit more rural, you can find a lot of that in Tillamook. A lot of these towns to the west of Tillamook are great, though, around Tillamook Bay or Netarts Bay, Oceanside and Netarts. These little towns are just 10 or 15 minutes to the west of a town like Tillamook. So if you want to be in a little town but still have all the amenities and shopping, probably everything you need close by, these might be a good spot for you. Sort of also off the beaten path, so they don't quite get the type of tourism that some of the towns to the north do. So if you're looking for something a little bit quieter that's still on the northern Oregon coast that can still have good proximity to everything, those are some good choices. Pacific City is probably one of the most up-and-coming towns along the Oregon coast. It is also very small, mostly known for its dory boat fishermen. It also has its own haystack rock, and then Cape Kiwanda State Park is a big draw. Also off of the 101, so they're not getting those people just traveling north to south, so they don't get some of the congestion that the towns that are on the 101 do. Everything is kind of really right here along the beach. There's not a whole lot more other than that, other than going hiking and all that kind of outdoor stuff that you can do. All kind of the shopping and food and restaurants and everything, which is kind of really kind of centered around Pelican Brewing, are just all right here, right by the Haystack Rock. Moving along to the south, we'll run into one of the most popular, largest towns along the Oregon coast in Lincoln City. One reason being is because you're about just 2 hours from Portland, about an hour away from Salem, you're a couple of hours away from Eugene. So from the biggest cities in the valley, Portland, Salem, Eugene, Lincoln City probably has about the best proximity. Lincoln City is also going to feel very large in that you've got a lot of small communities like Nell Scott, like Salishan, like Glen Eden Beach, that will all kind of just feel like one extension of Lincoln City, all right off the 101. It takes quite a while to get through this section of 101 in the peak season because it's kind of bumper to bumper. This might be the most congestion along the Oregon coast, kind of might get the most tourism along the Oregon coast in peak season. Do also have, as you might have noticed, a Devil's Lake. So if you want to be on a large lake and be close to the coast, Lincoln City is a good option for you. People are also drawn by the outlet mall, the casino, and there's just a ton of great restaurants and beaches all along this stretch. And then it'll take you very quickly into Depot Bay, just 20 or 30 minutes south of Lincoln City. Now, this is also a very small town, but it's a lot more vibrant than the small towns. A lot of great restaurants right here. I'll say Tidal Raves Seafood. If you follow Oregon Coast content, people oftentimes like to ask about the best places to eat along the Oregon Coast, the entire Oregon Coast. I see that one come up about as much as any other place. This is also known for whale watching. The whales do tend to come in very, very close right here to the coastline, probably closer than anywhere else along the Oregon Coast. And this is all rock. The waves come right up to these rocks and sometimes will actually spray over onto the 101, kind of giving it its own little unique thing. Also home to the world's smallest bay right here. Just south of Depot Bay, going to run into one of the larger, more popular towns along the Oregon Coast in Newport. When I think of Newport, I think of seafood. Newport has a very fishing and kind of seafood vibe to it in that the main drag in the downtown is all right here along the bay, and you'll see fishing boats coming in and out and unloading their catches right here. You've got the smells. You can smell the fish. You can hear the bells from the boats, the sea lions, and some of the best restaurants. Clearwater, one of my favorites, local ocean seafoods along the Oregon coast. You do also have the Newport Aquarium, which is a big attraction for people, and the Newport Wine and Seafood Fest, which is every February. I think is one of the best events along the entire Oregon coast. About 30 minutes to the south of that, you're going to run into the small town of Waldport. Waldport, to me, has a very blue-collar feel to it. One thing that Waldport has that's really great is they have a lot of houses here in this Bayshore area that have a lot of great views, and the real estate isn't too expensive. So if you're looking to be actually right on the water, right on the sand, have some water views, and you're on a budget, this might be one of the best places for you to find that along the Oregon coast. Just to the south of that, you have a town that has its own very unique feel, going from blue collar to a place that has more of an artsy feel to it. Fair amount of art galleries there. Kind of reminds you a little bit of Cannon Beach, a lot of great restaurants. And it's just all right here. So very small downtown. One thing to note about Yachats, no beach right here along here. If you want to be in a place that has a little bit of elevation and you're worried about tsunamis, you can be oceanfront and have a little bit of elevation. Also, a lot of houses set back here in the hills right here that have a lot of great views. And then just 30 minutes to the south of that, you'll run into Florence. About 10,000 people in Florence, one of the top places to retire along the Oregon coast. You're going to be about 45 minutes just to the west of Eugene, largely known for its dunes. The retirement demographic and the people coming to this area for recreation for the dunes kind of make up the area. You do also have a couple of large lakes similar to Lincoln City. The downtown is not too small, but fairly quiet, maybe compared to some of the other downtowns that are around the same size and 10,000 people. Just to the south of that, you'll run into probably a little less known Reedsport. It's one you don't hear about too much. Smaller town, known for their annual chainsaw convention. Real estate is fairly inexpensive there and inexpensive going into the largest, most populous place along the Oregon coast, which is North Bend, Coos Bay. About 25,000 people in this area right here. If you're looking for employment, looking for a job, you're probably going to have the most opportunities around this area. One thing I will say is similar to Tillamook, if you want to be close to the ocean, as you can see, you are set a little bit more inland. A lot of places, North Bend, Coos Bay, are going to be about 15 to 30 minutes from, whereas a lot of places along the Oregon coast are typically going to be that or less. You're oftentimes going to be just 5 or 10 minutes away from the beach. If you're visiting the area, I'd highly recommend Shore Acres State Park, Bassendorf Beach, and Sunset Bay State Park. Having as much population as they do, Coos Bay, North Bend is going to have pretty much all the shopping amenities and restaurants that you might possibly want. Real estate, average home values in this area in the mid-3s, whereas a lot of the Oregon coast is closer to the 5s. You can also find some inexpensive rural properties. So if you want some acreage similar to Tillamook, that might be a good spot to look. Just south of that, you're going to run into Bandon. Bandon, largely known for their golf course. They have a world-renowned golf course that people travel all around the world to, which really kind of defines the area. Makes the real estate also a little bit more expensive. They have a great little old town right here. Great seafood, typically very bustling in the peak season. also known for its really rugged beaches and amazing rock formations. Next big town we'll run into is going to be Gold Beach. Gold Beach has a lot of beach, not only in Gold Beach, but just north of Gold Beach, like Nasika Beach. If you want to find some unobstructed beach in a quieter town, this is going to be a good place to do it. Some restaurants in Gold Beach sometimes will close down in the winter time because they just don't quite have the foot traffic to support everything, all the restaurants in this area. So that kind of gives you an idea of what Gold Beach is like. Very, very quiet. Now, just to the south of Gold Beach, you're going to run into Brookings, which is also quiet, but a little bit more popular, mostly known and popular because of its temperate climate. A lot of 50s and 60s year-round. You do also have roughly 50 or 60 more sunny days in Brookings as opposed to the northern Oregon coast, like in Astoria, for example. So a lot of people retiring to this area for that reason. It's between 6,000 and 7,000 people roughly in this area. So it's not quite as quiet as Gold Beach, but it still feels very quiet and kind of isolated. One thing to know about being on the southern Oregon coast, Gold Beach, Brookings, this area right here, the Rogue National Forest, is going to be about as rugged as anywhere else along the Oregon coast. And as you can see, there is no straight shot to get into the valley, this is where your airport is going to be, your closest airport in Medford. I think there's a regional down here, but there's an international airport up here in Medford. And it's about 3.5 hours if you go down California, the 199 and back up, or you can go the 101 and cut over on the 42 right here from Winston. So you're not very close to anything. For that reason, southern Oregon coast not getting a whole lot of traffic inland like the northern Oregon coast would. All right, I hope that gives you a better idea of the Oregon coast. Again, my name is Seth Marchant. I'm a licensed real estate broker in the state of Oregon. Helped a lot of people buy homes along the Oregon coast from Astoria to Brookings. If you're somebody that's interested, has questions, thinking about taking the next steps, you can call, text, email, or hit that QR code right there on the TV, and that'll take you to our website. You can also find in our calendar in the description of this video a link to our Zoom if you want to schedule a Zoom call with us. And if this video helped you, give me a thumbs up, lets me know I'm doing a good job. And if you want to see more videos about what it's like to eat, sleep, play, all the pros and cons of living along the Oregon coast, we have over 100 videos, so make sure and subscribe. And until next time, take care, everyone.